Mr. Eggplant presents.
Hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you for checking out this video. And as requested by you guys, my viewers, we are going to be checking out some Mythic Plus Dark Ranger content today. So thank you guys for leaving feedback. I always appreciate it, and I want to make videos that you want to see here on YouTube. So, I did a +8 Necrotic Wake tonight and did 1.45 million DPS for the entire run. That's a pretty respectable number, and I do think that we still need some more tuning. We need some more bug fixes. Not everything has been fixed. I think they are working on it though. Withering Fire seemed to be working so much better than it had been, and even visually on my bars you could see that it was actually firing and they were actually going out. So that's a good thing. They actually did fix the double mastery buff that our black arrows were double dipping on our mastery. So that does stink, but you know, is what it is there. Hey Dimzer, how's it going, my friend? Looks like somebody's showing off their mount. Gotta love that. Anyway, I love that mount, by the way. It's one of my favorites, and I've got a lot of those. But what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you guys the build, since it's a little bit different than what's in my 11.05 Marksman Hunter guide, which, by the way, I had made a mistake, and I got a good call out on that, so I do apologize. I try not to share misinformation and like that. I had actually should have moved 1 point down into volley, and I didn't, so I definitely run volley, trust me on that. But we'll look at the build, and then we'll look at the damage meters, and then we'll actually throw it over to the actual run, and we'll talk about that like my normal Mythic Plus runs. So real quick, my item level is 621, 639 weapon, my 2 trinkets, 632 empowering crystal of Anub'ikkaj, and the 593 Skardyn's Grace. Do have my 4 set, and using double Dawntread lining embellishments. This is the build that I'm running, so we won't worry about the right side, or excuse me, the left side of the tree. But in the middle for Dark Ranger, I had opted to run with Ebon Bowstring instead of Phantom Pain, just because I wanted to have more chances at getting Deathblow procs. I think that Ebon Bowstring probably needs to have that percentage tweaked and be higher than that. For example, like Shadowhounds versus Soul Drinker. Soul Drinker's pretty much dead on arrival anyway, so it's not really worth picking, because it's a 10% chance if they die with Deathblow. That's such a rare chance to begin with, and then you only have 10%. Problem is, Shadowhounds didn't do a ton of damage for me. We'll look at it here in a second when we look at the actual damage meters. So I had opted to not do the AoE Phantom Pain, and they just have more chances at at Deathblow. And then over on the marksman side, which, by the way, this build will be found down in the description of the video if you guys would like to check it out. But what I had opted to do is do the standard build, but different, if that makes sense. So standard build plus a little bit of AoE single target, since Black Arrow does both for us now, and particularly with Razor Fragments. So I went and picked up my True Shot, I got my Salvo, so I have those two, and then I moved the points from Bullet Storm, from Tactical Reload, and Hydra's Bite, and I moved them back over here to Improved Deathblow, Killer Accuracy, and Razor Fragments, because anything that increases the damage of our Kill Shot increases the damage of our Black Arrow, and Black Arrow is going to be used in AoE just like it does in single target, and it doesn't make much sense to run this build as a Sentinel Marksman Hunter, but it definitely has more synergy with Dark Ranger. Is it a perfect build? Probably not, and that's why I'm going to continue to try new builds, particularly after they fix all the rest of the bugs. So that'll be fun. But in this build, it just made sense to have more kill shot damage, and that was the goal and the genesis, if you will, behind moving those 3 points. And now let's go ahead and look at the damage. So we did 1.45 million DPS for the entire dungeon. Looking at our damage, the usual suspects are at the top. Aim shots now number 1, again, because we're getting so many more aim shots out thanks to Pincushion. Such a nice talent. And it gives you just more incentive to cast Steady Shot, because Dark Ranger is much more focus hungry than Sentinel is. So to make up for that, you're going to be casting more Steady Shots, but Steady Shot's going to give you 8% haste, which is something that we want on a Dark Ranger hunter, but also it's going to give you more focus since it's now baseline again. Again, thank you, Blizzard. But then on top of all of that, it's lowering the cooldown of your next aim shot. Like, there's 3 things. That's so amazing. That's some really, really great synergy. And then Rapid Fire is to be expected to be up there. Rapid Fire used to be my number 1, but now it is back to Aim Shot. Didn't get as much damage from Black Arrow because, again, it was bugged and getting a double dip there on our mastery. There's 4 different ones. One of them is the main hit. Then one of them is the dot that the main hit leaves. And then when you're using Withering Fire, it's going to shoot those 2 extra ones at 50% duration, or 50% damage, not duration, I think. Anyway, then when those go out, they also leave a dot, and that's why there's 4 different ones in total. Good explosive shot damage. We have 2 different ways to get those out with explosive shot and then with salvo. The number 1 thing, or I guess one of the things I want to point out, was bleak powder damage. Huge, absolutely huge damage there. That and Shadow Surge. Those aren't quite Sentinel levels or Lunar Storm levels, but you don't have to stand in a certain place to get those. I guess they still have to be close, but they don't have to be in a circle. You know what I mean? I didn't actually do a very good job of getting like min-max bleak powder damage at the beginning of the dungeon, but as you'll see in a little bit later, I did at the end of the dungeon, because you want to make sure when you have trick shots, throw your Black Arrow then. Don't wait on it, because it doesn't take your trick shots buff, and then you can follow it up with your aim shot or something like that. It happened so much at the very beginning of the dungeon where I would use my multi-shot and then see that I had Black Arrow up, but then I would use my aim shot or my rapid fire instead, and then cast the Black Arrow. So the Black Arrow didn't get any bonus damage from bleak powder, where I could have done it in the opposite order and got so much more value. So just little things like that can make a huge difference in your damage on Dark Ranger. And then, let's see, other things I wanted to point out was Murder of Crows and Dark Hounds did very, very little damage. I would expect those to get tuned. I feel like they're pretty under-tuned. They're either not proccing often, or they are just not doing enough damage. Like, to give you guys an idea, Dark Hound was doing like 8% damage in some cases last week, and now it's doing like 1%, at least in this dungeon. And then really quick, I had Steady Focus up for 70% of the dungeon. Not a bad amount there. I'd like to see that a little bit higher. And then we had Razor Fragments up for 50% of the dungeon. So 50% of the dungeon, Deathblow was going to, or Black Arrow was going to be doing 75% more damage and causing those bleeds. And then on top of everything else that we had in our build to augment that damage. And then one other thing I wanted to point out. So Withering Fire and True Shot we had up for about 16% of the dungeon. Usually on Sentinel that's around 20, since you can get more out because you can lower the cooldown just a little bit more. But for the first Mythic Plus dungeon, I felt that this was a very strong run, and I can't wait to share it with you. So we'll stop talking about this, and then we'll actually look at the run where I didn't show you the entire thing to keep the video length down, but I do have like priority pulls, and then also when things don't go well, so you guys can see what that would look like from the Dark Ranger point of view. So let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so on to the key side of this video. So here at the very beginning, and I'm not going to show the entire thing, I helped Tipsy out by pulling the stuff on the sides, and I just start dropping all of my cooldowns, and this is the very beginning of the key, and I was very surprised at the amount of damage that I was pumping. Particularly since I wasn't getting a ton of procs of our Black Arrow. So I did literally like almost 5 million DPS, and we were just doing a pretty standard pull And I definitely have to say that having more haste in your build, particularly for Dark Ranger, definitely helped and made things feel a lot smoother. But it is a much more focus hungry spec, that is for sure. So I'm just doing my normal rotation, and I am trying to. I'm still not feeling super comfortable, and you will see me not send my Black Arrow. Black Arrow should be what I am doing, sending that as much as possible, because you want to get it on cooldown so you can get those death blow procs. And you will find when I do not do damage in this dungeon, which there are some times, and I will make sure and not cut those out so you guys can see it, what was happening was I was not using my Black Arrow, and I was like holding on to it, thinking it's still, treating it still like a kill shot, and then I was leaving that 80-20 zone, meaning above 80% health or below 20% health, and so then I couldn't use it. Now that middle 60% is rather rough if you don't have True Shot. So that is something to consider. And by the way, this was a level 8 key, so it is a fortified week, and then it's the, I forget which Xalatath buff this one is officially called, but it is the one that gives you movement speed and haste. So haste is really good for us, so that might have skewed my DPS quite a bit, since we do take advantage of haste a lot more than Sentinel does. But we pulled the dungeon a little bit differently than we normally do, so I'm a little bit off on some of my cooldown usage. So again, that's something that hindsight's 2020. I could definitely do better than I did in this run. But Necrotic Wake is a pretty easy key for our group. I should say that we've got a ton of experience in it. That's a better way to describe it. So we kind of know what to expect from the dungeon, just not the pull cadence that we did in this run, since Tipsy was tanking for us. I really appreciate her stepping in and tanking for us as well. I hope she gets something really good out of her vault this coming week. So here, I don't have my True Shot up here like I want. The whole point of Dark Ranger is that it has some pretty good single target damage as well, so I need to be making sure that I had True Shot up, since whenever you play a Sentinel Hunter, you can get the True Shot up much faster, so I've been used to that, and so I definitely felt the issue that I've kind of already caused from doing too much Sentinel. But bosses melt pretty fast, which means they get out of that 80-20 zone. So if you look at my DPS, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing like, what, 1.4 million? But I could be doing so much better, and I did not put myself in a position to cleave down those ads. In fact, I think I got bitten by one at one point. But I'm going to avoid the wretch that's going to go out on Sai here, throw down my trap there. Been trying to do a better job of using that. There's where I take the munch. Whoops. Might take another one again here soon if I'm not careful. Get out of the circle there on the ground, and then we're headed back up towards these ads. So now we're in that 20% zone, and my damage will go up just a little bit here, since we have a stacking amount of crit, but I missed out on a ton of damage, because by the time I realized, hey, I need to be using my Black Arrow, he was out of that first 20%, and so I couldn't use it, and my damage definitely reflected that. Now, at the end of this dungeon, you will notice my damage spikes will be much higher, and my lows will be not as low, because I wasn't wasting my Black Arrow procs, or I was just casting it more, just straight up casting it more. There, like we're just absolutely like massacring some of this stuff. So there's going to be a cut. There we go. So this is going to be one where I don't have my cooldowns up. So as you look at my damage, like it's below the tank currently. Like it is straight up below the tank, and that's because I didn't have follow-up. I used all my cooldowns on the previous pull, so I really had nothing. Something I'm going to start getting in the hang of is whenever I use my volley, immediately throw out that Black Arrow, yeah, it does take a GCD, but the chances are good that on most pulls without your True Shot, you're only going to get up to 3 GCDs through there anyway. So you throw down your volley, which will put out your salvo, and then you go Black Arrow, and then rapid fire aim shot. And then you have 2 chances to get another Black Arrow. You will see me fail at the beginning and then get better at the end, where whenever you're trying to get your bleak damage from like the explosion, the bleak powder, which did again like 7% of my total damage in here, you want to be sending those black arrows, so then boom, it's going to hit everything there. And oh, by the way, all got hit by that razor fragments as well, so they're all taking that bleed damage because of this build. Is this going to be the optimal build? Maybe. Is it going to be the optimal build? Maybe not. But it seemed to work pretty well, and I can't complain about, you know, almost 1.5 million DPS for an entire dungeon, and and that was with me dying twice, and then also just not being an optimal run for the group, for example. But we are keeping steady with the other guys in the group, and this is a really good. I've been looking for a hybrid build, right? So that's something that I've been championing over in the PTR. I did a full one, which had Wailing Arrow and Readiness and stuff like that, and I think that is going to be a better build for keys that you're either you're not going to time because you're going to have to deal with, you know, big tyrannical bosses, for example, or it just is going to have to be tuned to where that will be viable in every key, because it's probably going to be very key specific, because on boss fights or dungeons that the bosses are the hardest part, it might work just fine. But I'm still working through it, and my goal is to continue to. I say it all the time, guys. You know me if you checked out my videos. I'm always going in every key. I'm trying to learn something new. I'm trying to get better at my favorite class and spec. And that also means hero talents, because I do love Dark Ranger, and it is my favorite by far. I don't mind playing Sentinel. It doesn't bother me, but it's not what I want to play. So I want to make sure that I find builds that will work for Dark Ranger. And then also, whenever those affixes come down, you can use your implosive trap to get rid of most of them. So on Amarth here, I went ahead and I grabbed the spear. We are going to be using spear first, and I'm just sending stuff because I'm already learning. I make sure I got my my first ability to cast my black arrow, so I used it. Here comes the Land of the Dead, so this is where I'm going to. I should have been able to misdirect there. Whoops. But I put myself in a position to be able to just annihilate this stuff. I used the spear, and then as soon as I threw down my volley, you can go black arrow, and then you can do your normal rotation. And if you get any, and since I was in True Shot, for example, it's going to send all of those extra black arrow death blow procs we get. And look, Amarth is already melting, and I'm a good like 30 million damage higher than the other two DPS, and they're no slouches at all. And now, since I had a really good pull, I'm going to pretty much coast as much as possible here. I'm going to make sure and purge the boss whenever I can. There's the misdirect, and I'm going to cleave off of the boss. If I had a black arrow that was available there, I would have used it. There we go. So did get that one used. But Amarth is almost at the 20%. There he is. And now we are going to be able to cast it on cooldown. There I got a proc, so I went ahead and used it. I haven't quite seen how big some of these procs can get. I think I did see like a 2 million at one point. And that's, again, after it was not double dipping on our mastery. So that there is the second boss. Looks like explosive shot. A well-timed explosive shot will do tremendous amounts of damage. And that's something that I do need to get better at, regardless of what hero talent I'm playing, is making sure that I'm delaying those just a little bit so I can get like primo value for them. So here we're going to do another big pull. I'm going to send everything I can here. I don't think I pay for it with my life in this one. Unfortunately, my setup was a little slow because I actually arrived at this pack just a little bit slower. I wish, hindsight's 2020, I would have not used my cooldowns for this pack. Don't die me. Here we go. And I would have used it for a big pull with this pack plus the other loyalist pack that's behind us. That's something that we typically will pull the left side by itself, just that one pack that we pulled first in here, and then we'll take the main pat and the corner pack to the right of the screen right now. We would normally pull those together. If that's the case, we could have just gotten amazing value from Black Arrow and Razor Fragments. It didn't happen, so I should have just held my cooldowns there. But again, hindsight's 2020. I think we did just fine. Still doing 1.2 million right now, so. And I will have all of the bosses as well. I made sure that all of the bosses were going to be in this video. So there's the aim shot. I made sure that I need to have trick shots up before I cast those black arrows, so that way they do that burst damage. And then everything is pretty much the same, like just pretty much normal. And that is it's harder, Dark Ranger, but yet it's also very simple. The main difference is, do you have black arrow up and are you in AoE? Yes. Use multi-shot or use volley, then cast your black arrow, and then follow it up with your rapid fire or your aim shot. I just need to get in the habit of doing that so you get more bleak powder damage. That's literally, if you don't do it, that's just free damage that you're leaving on the table, so to speak. And it's gonna come down to practicing to get out of the habit of, oh, this is kill shot, you can only use it at the end of a boss, where no, I need to be leading with that thing. Will I pull Queen off of Zaft a bunch in raid? Maybe, yeah, probably. But it's just something we need to get in the hang of doing. And we had this one pack that was here at the very corner that we forgot to grab. So I don't remember if I cut this bit. I might actually, I don't know. No, actually, I don't think I will. We'll head to Surgeon Stitch Flesh here in just a second. But there is a total of 3 more packs after this one. So looking at cooldowns, I know I'm jumping around and this is a cut up video, but I'm looking at my cooldown, and the difference also between Dark Ranger and Sentinel is the fact that the true shot cooldown is different. The whittling it is different. So that's something you kind of need to get a feel for. Alright, so now we're on to Stitch Flesh. I went ahead and cut those other 3 out. There was nothing too crazy going on there. With this fight, if you guys are unfamiliar, throw the hook at Stitch Flesh. It brings him down so he stops putting that bleed on everybody. And then we just go to town. So I don't have my black arrow out right now. Actually, okay, there was one that went off. There was 2 that went off. You saw it. It actually like procs for a split second. And that's just during your true shot. So I got 2 of them off, but I bursted like 1.7 million or so. And so Stitch Flesh is going to try to kill me with the embalming fluid. I took a bit of damage there because I wasn't paying any attention. But we're already in that 20% zone, so I can be hitting him with Black Arrow. Everybody pumped the brakes on that creation, and that was masterful, like amazing. And then Stitch Flesh just melted. And then here comes the orbs. Ascendants, maybe that's what it's called. I think they're orbs of ascendance. Either way, that build information will be found down in the description of the video as well. And now we're on to the final boss, which is a complete single target boss. Unfortunately, the way that these work is that they go back to back, basically boss to boss. So now I'm really running on E, so I have to be very careful about not wasting some of my cooldowns. And then making sure that I'm getting Black Arrow out. But as you just saw, I think I got 1 Black Arrow out, or maybe even 0 at the very beginning of this pull, because I'm so used to, okay, explosive shot, drop your volley, go true shot, and then next thing you know, you're already out of that 80-20 zone, particularly when it's a fortified week and not a tyrannical week, or at least you're not to that key level yet like we were in this one. Like these guys are melting. It's crazy the difference between a tyrannical and a non-tyrannical boss. Like, again, absolutely crazy. So I already used my True Shot, and I can continue to whittle the cooldown of it. And then you just saw me there. I snuck in some cheeky damage, even on single target. If you throw your volley, then do your black arrow, that's when I actually got that bleak damage. Even though I don't have AoE to do, but it does give me trick shots, and all it requires is trick shots. It doesn't require you to actually hit other targets other than your main target. But like these bosses, they melted very, very quickly. And for not having True Shot up for the first bit of a boss's health, I thought we did a really good job on this fight. And overall, it was a really easy and smooth dungeon. I hope that they'll continue to fine-tune things and smooth it out even better. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Be sure and follow me over at Twitch at twitch.tv/MrEggplant. I'll have more Dark Ranger content out very soon. Hope you guys will give me your feedback, and I'll see you next time.